All right, let's just get right into it. Procrastination. It's that little voice in all of our heads that whispers, I'll do it later. It's a battle we all fight. But what if I told you that beating it isn't about some kind of superhuman willpower? It's actually about having the right strategy. And in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how you can do that. Oh yeah, we've all been there. You've got that big project staring you down, or that really important email you need to send. And you know you have to do it, but instead, you're suddenly an expert on the history of llamas, or you're cleaning a desk that's already clean. Or, and this is a classic, you decide right now is the perfect moment to organize your spice rack alphabetically. Sound familiar? Well, here's the good news. You're not lazy. You're not unmotivated. See, procrastination is a really complex emotional reaction to a task. It's not some kind of character flaw. So the answer isn't to just try harder. The real key is to figure out why we do it. And then, this is the cool part, use some really clever, proven tricks to outsmart our own brains. So, our first step here is to basically play detective. We're going to put on our Sherlock Holmes hat for a minute. Because before we can jump into the solutions, we have to diagnose what's actually causing the problem in the first place. And what's really fascinating is that the reason you procrastinate might be totally different from why someone else does. It pretty much boils down to three main psychological roadblocks. You can think of these as the main villains in our story. And it's really a protection mechanism. Our brain is just trying to keep us safe from stress. So as we go through these, see if you recognize yourself in one, or, maybe all three. So first up, we've got the fear of failure. This is when you're so worried about a bad outcome, like getting criticized or just not meeting your own high standards, that it feels safer to just not even start. The logic is kind of like, well, if I don't try, I can't fail, right? It's this primal instinct that's just become a major obstacle to getting things done. Next is perfectionism, which is basically the fear of failure's very close cousin. The need for a flawless, perfect result creates so much pressure that the whole task just feels impossible. You find yourself waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect idea, but the irony, of course, is that waiting for perfect is the fastest way to get absolutely nothing done. And finally, there's just good old-fashioned overwhelm. You look at this mountain of work in front of you, and your brain just kind of short circuits. The project seems so huge, so complicated, that you can't even figure out where to begin. And so, you don't. You go check your email instead. Okay, so now that we've figured out the why, let's get to the really fun part, the how. We're going to build your personal anti-procrastination toolkit, and it's going to be filled with real, practical strategies you can literally start using the second this is over. So this first batch of tools, this is all about breaking through that initial resistance. You know that feeling of being stuck in the mud? These are some deceptively simple tricks just to get the ball rolling, because we all know that first step is always the hardest part. And believe it or not, the single most powerful trick in this entire toolkit, it all comes down to this one simple number. This is the 5-minute rule, and honestly, it's genius. All you do is tell yourself, I'm just going to work on this for 5 minutes. That's it. Anyone can do pretty much anything for 5 minutes. But what's so amazing is that once you start, you've already beaten that initial inertia. And more often than not, you'll find you just keep going. You've basically tricked your brain into getting started. Now, this one is a lifesaver. It directly attacks that feeling of overwhelm. A huge task like write the essay is terrifying, right? But if you break it down into these tiny, manageable micro goals, it suddenly feels doable. Each little thing you check off gives you a tiny hit of dopamine, and that builds momentum to tackle the next one. Okay, this one sounds super obvious, but it might be the most important one on the list. Your environment can be your best friend or your worst enemy. Every little ping, every buzz, every notification is just an open invitation for your brain to procrastinate. So you have to be ruthless. You have to intentionally build a distraction-free zone where focusing is actually the easiest thing to do. So we've got our quick start tricks to get us moving. Now let's build on that foundation with some deeper strategies that are all about your mindset. Because you see, the long-term war against procrastination, it's not one on your to-do list. It's one inside your head. And this right here is such a simple but powerful mental switch. When you say, I have to do this, it feels like a chore. It instantly creates resistance. But if you reframe it as, I choose to do this, well, that puts you back in the driver's seat.
You're choosing this because you want the end result, whatever it is. You're taking back control. Look, our brains are wired to do two things: seek pleasure and avoid pain. And right now, your brain might connect that big project with pain. But we can actually rewire that by giving yourself a small, immediate reward after you finish a task, even a tiny micro goal. You start to build a positive feedback loop. Your brain starts to learn, hey, getting stuff done leads to good things. And suddenly, work doesn't feel like a punishment anymore. This is such a powerful motivator. Just take a second. Seriously, close your eyes and really imagine that feeling of crossing that task off your list. Picture the relief, the pride, the sheer freedom of having it done. This isn't just daydreaming. This is creating the emotional fuel you need to actually push through the tough parts. Okay, so we've covered a lot of different tools, but let's wrap this up with what is maybe the most important idea of all, and that's about redefining what success even looks like in the first place. See, winning this battle isn't about pulling some heroic all-nighter to finish a project you've ignored for weeks. That's not a win. That's just a symptom of the problem. The real victory is building the habit of showing up and doing a little bit consistently day after day. Small, steady actions will always, and I mean always, beat those rare, heroic bursts of effort. And that brings us to the core message, the one thing I really want you to take away from all of this. Let this be your new mantra. Say it with me. Progress beats perfection. An imperfectly finished project is 1,000,000 times better than a perfectly planned one that never even gets started. So I'll leave you with this one question. Think of that one thing. You know, the one that you've been putting off. Don't worry about finishing it. Don't even worry about doing it well. Just ask yourself, what tiny piece of it can I work on for just 5 minutes right now? Go do that. You might just be amazed at what happens next.